I remember getting off the elevator and the first thing I saw in big letters was cancer. And that made me, it just jolted me like, okay, we have some issues here that we're gonna have to deal with because you have cancer.
It was early in the winter of 2017 when Jay Lyons received the news no one wants to hear: stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The diagnosis came after 20 years of various treatments for kidney cancer, plus lesions on his liver, a rarity for one person to have two very different types of cancer.
The whirlwind with finding the cancer in the kidney was devastating, if for no other reason. We didn't know what the outcome was going to be, and I was a young man, and I was very much in love with my wife, and that's very frightening.
Fighting the pancreatic cancer became the priority, and chemotherapy was the best option. 9 long months of chemo cocktails. The treatments did remove new lesions that had grown on his kidneys.
But the one in the pancreas had increased in size from 18 millimeters to 50.
This time, radiation was added to more rounds of chemo, 25 days of radiation, which meant a difficult Christmas and a not-so-happy New Year as 2018 began.
At that time, February 1st was the last treatment, and I had said to my wife then, I said, I hope you're with me, but I'm done. I'm done with treatments. They've done everything they can, and now we have to look at what's the next step that makes the most sense with what we're dealing with, and that's hospice.
And because of my career path that I've had as a registered nurse who's worked throughout the community, I know that people don't get in hospice early enough to really get the benefits out of it.
Once you mention hospice, you can see the deer in the headlights with everyone that you mention the word to, and it's not like that. That's not what's going on.
Jay and his wife Julia say hospice isn't what most people think. It's not just a way to make people comfortable in their final days. It's actually a way for people to have the best quality of life in the time they have left.
When I took Julia in my arms and says, okay, I'm done now, and I want you to support me, and there's this majestic sunset that's off to the west, this phenomenal sunset. And I want you to get in the car with me, and we're going to head towards that sunset. We just don't know how long it's going to take us to get there. But we're going to do this together, and we're going to enjoy each other, and there's going to be little times when we can sneak off and do things that we enjoy as we're heading towards this phenomenal, majestic sunset.
Yes, there's been plenty of crying and tears and all of that type of stuff along the way. But actually, when we made this decision, we were ready. I was more upset when we decided to put the DNR bracelet on. That was before we started hospice.
With Julia at his side, Jay made one more vulnerable decision.
The other thing that was very important is to include the entire family. This was not going to be a mystery to my kids, to Julia's son, or my grandkids. And so we sat down individually with each of these families immediately and said, here's where we're at. Here's what's going on. This is what I desire. This is what I want to have happen.
Since those conversations, Jay and Julia's family and friends have learned the importance of advance directives paperwork. It needs to be complete and on file with healthcare providers.
It's extremely important because there's so many times that we end up treating people, they are unable to make decisions for themselves any longer, and the advance directives are all we have to follow in order to provide the best patient care that we can.
Healthcare providers, nurses, and community educators say talking about end-of-life decision-making doesn't have to be sad or just about medical decisions. It can be anything you want, from music played in your room to being surrounded by flowers, even making sure someone knows you want your hair combed for visitors.
And so when you make those decisions at a time, that's really a gift to your loved ones so that they don't have to worry about that and they can just concentrate on, loving you, taking care of you.
I feel very calm that when the time comes, we're going to have everything in place and it's going to be a lot less stressful. We all know what Jay wants.
Since Jay began hospice care in his home, he's been focused on only one thing: enjoying every moment he has, including golf with his buddies every day, all day if he wants. not an activity you'd think of for someone on hospice.
The feeling, the day that we signed the papers for hospice, is a day that I've never experienced. That weight that came off my shoulders when he said to me, the nurse, we're done with tests, we're done with pills, you're going to enjoy yourself. I mean, I had to put my hands around that because it was so foreign to everything that I've ever done in my life, which was fight and do the best you can. And
for me, this is the most important piece. Everybody on his team, he has a chance to tell them what is important to him. So they get to know him as who Jay really is, not Jay on his deathbed, but then when he gets to that stage, they'll know what he wants and what he desires. And it's easier on me because they've already had that discussion.
From golfing with the guys to cabin retreats with the grandkids, Jay and Julia aren't letting the cancer win by crushing their spirits. There are no woe is me moments now that hospice is helping.
They're trained, one of the things I've noticed is that they're trained to get your mind in the proper setting in regards to think about quality and not about dying.
He's had the social worker come out, he gets a massage every month, his nurse comes here, the doctors come here. The other biggest benefit that I see for him is he doesn't have to go anywhere. He doesn't have to go in to get labs, nothing. They'll do it all here for him.
My quality of life now is probably the best it's been in about 15 months.
Hospice is also a support system for Julia as the caregiver, providing her with resources, coping skills, and reminders that quality of life is now the only concern.
Talking about hospice and entering hospice isn't the sad part. Hospice is a program to help you cope with it, where it's the pancreatic cancer and what it's doing to us is the sad part.
Julia, Jay, and their families are taking full advantage of having all the tough decisions already made, while Jay is driving home the message that home hospice care shouldn't be about dying well, but rather living well.
All you need is the attitude that I'm going to do the very best and live my life to the fullest. That's an easy concept. That's an easy concept to think about. And everything else is, I don't have to worry about that. I have no doctor's appointments. I don't have anything. I just live my life. It's phenomenal. You're not dictated by a calendar full of tests and doctor's appointments and getting chemotherapy or getting radiation. My schedule book now, which helps me to know what's going on, is filled with great activities, and it has nothing to do with my cancer condition. It's filled with things that make me happier